There's a potted plant that sits in my apartment. I've had it for 2 years. I water it every other day. Occasionally I'll knock it over when I'm vacuuming, but it's still alive, and I love it. It's one of my proudest achievements. But there was a point when it almost died. And it was my childhood pet who saved it. How? Here's the story. My sister and I had always wanted pets, and for years we begged our parents for one of our own. But we were always met with the same cliche parental remark, "No, you kids aren't getting a pet. If you get one, we'll be the ones taking care of it," my mom would say. Still, we insisted, until finally, they caved. Probably more out of annoyance than trust. I wanted a leopard gecko, and my sister wanted a turtle. Leopard geckos are native to Pakistan. Since Pakistan was a bit far, my dad picked the next best alternative. He drove us 100 miles across the scorching Great Plains of South Dakota to the mecca of pet shops, Petco in Sioux Falls. That's where you bought pets. You know, Petco, where the pets go. I remember walking around the store, peeking into all the different lizard displays, till I spotted a colony of leopard geckos. And that's when I saw him. He was just a tiny little gecko, a yellow guy with a black and white tail, and black specks all over his body. He looked at me and opened his mouth. And if he could talk, he probably would have said, "Hi, kid. Love me." "That's the one I want, Dad. That's speckled gecko." Specko, the gecko. Yes, friends, Specko the gecko is what I called him. By the sound of his name, you would have thought I was 3 years old. But in fact, I was 10. "They're all speckled, Michael," my dad replied. I bought him there on the spot, with my dad's money, of course. "Michael, you better take care of this damn thing," my dad said as we walked out of the store with Specko and Dana's new pet, Myrtle the turtle. Yes, Myrtle the turtle. I peered down at Speck and said, "Don't worry, Speck. I'll love you." When I got home, I learned that loving Speck was much different than I anticipated. I didn't like touching Speck half as much as I thought I would. When I first held him, he shit in my hand. There was 2 shits, one black and one white. It was disgusting. But it was nice to see geckos didn't discriminate in their defecation. I begged my mom to take him out of my hand. Then there was feeding him. He ate live prey, crickets specifically. That's cool, I thought. Then I tried to feed him and realized how much I hated it. The crickets would crawl up your arm when you opened the bag they were sold in. I begged my mom to feed him too. On top of that, Speck carried salmonella. At this point I was asking myself, why did I buy this lizard anyway? I begged my mom to get infected with salmonella too. I didn't interact with Speck as I grew up, or love him like I said I would. I even made my mom move him out of my room in high school because he smelled so bad and I didn't want to look at him. By the time I was 16, I completely stopped looking at Speck. I felt like if I did, Speck would look back at me and say, "Hi, kid. You're an asshole." Then I went to college in Seattle, and my folks moved and took him to Oklahoma. When I came back for winter break, I saw Speck and noticed his eye had grayed and clouded over. I asked my mom what had happened. She told me one of those damn crickets was crawling on his face and scratched his eye. I felt better looking at Speck, knowing he couldn't look back at me. A couple years after college, I called my dad to wish him a happy Easter. Oh, hi Michael. Hope your Easter's going well. Then he paused. By the way, Speck died. Your mom found him in his cage, curled into a ball behind his cave. His eyes were closed and his mouth was open. Your mother didn't have the heart to tell you, but he died a couple of weeks ago. We put him in a shoebox and buried the damn thing, the lizard, under a potted plant. Even though Speck and I weren't close, I was sad. But I was even more saddened by what my dad said next. Michael, your mom thinks it's her fault. She thinks she killed him. My mom has a unique ability to feel guilt about everything. But of course my mom didn't kill Speck. My mom fed him, gave him water, and practically changed his diaper for 12 years. Speck died because that's what happens to animals when they get old. And people too. No matter how much you take care of them or love them. I turned around and saw my dying potted plant that hadn't been watered in 2 weeks. Even though it didn't have eyes, I could feel it staring back at me. I hung up the phone and watered it before it opened its mouth and called me an asshole. I'm looking forward to seeing it live as long as Speck did, without begging my mom to do it. It's a shame, really. I had to watch something die to understand love is work, that love is a choice.